We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome.
Why can't I hear anything?
Oh, you can't hear anything?
No,
Like, not even any volume of your own voice or anything?
No, nothing at all.
Interesting.
I hear nothing.
Weird.
You want to try?
Sure, I'll try.
Can't hear anything.
Hello. Oh yeah, it's like a dark and cold world in there. Well, we are live. While I try to figure this out, you can have these ones, or I don't need.
Sure.
I don't really need them.
You don't need them?
I don't know. I mean,
I thought it was our look.
you want me to put them on just because of the look?
No, because then you won't be able to hear me.
I won't be able to hear you talking.
Hi guys, it's hey Kalina. Hey, yeah, it's that time again. It's the
Most wonderful.
the lazy parent time. Welcome back. We're starting a little bit early today because I have to get up at just ungodly hour tomorrow morning for a meeting. So we can't be doing this at 11:30 at night.
No, sir.
Anyways, how are you guys doing? How about you? What's your
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Ha! It's funny since I can't hear you in the headphones, and I have these headphones on my head, like a total idiot. I can't tell what you're saying.
It's okay.
How am I doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm fully awake right now. I think last time we were kind of half asleep.
Yeah, last time, I mean, it was kind of the end of the whole winter vacation. I don't know what that was. Kind of just like a tumble into
We seem to do it every year.
sugar and sleep and slow days.
Yeah, it seems like at the end of the year we both sort of decline into.
No, we don't. We don't decline. I wouldn't call it.
No, we relax into some sort of like a hibernation state.
Yes, I think that's the state that we find most appealing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you stay there for too long, you kind of start to loathe yourself a
Yes, you
little
do.
bit.
But you have to understand, June and I are very, very, very professional at doing nothing. We're super good at it.
Don't rope me into this. I'm not
It's
ready
true,
for these kinds of reveals.
We're really good at it. Would you deny it? Do you deny this?
When I get into the mode, I can be so sloth.
Right?
My level of sloth is quite very
Very extreme.
extreme and subarashi. It's amazing. Anyways, so I guess, is there anything we need to talk about?
We need to talk about so many things. But as far as like here,
Do you want to do
this setting,
the D and the M's?
the D and the M's, it sounds like it could be sexual.
No, the deep and meaningfuls. See, that's what I was trying to remember in the last podcast. When you have a deep and meaningful conversation.
Sure, we can have a deep and meaningful
Australian brother-in-law says it's time for the D and M's.
conversation.
Deep and meaningfuls. No, sorry. If you got nothing, we can just...
Well, let me see. Do I really got nothing? I mean, it's the start of a new year.
It is.
I feel like I'm finally waking up again. Waking up and being like, okay, gotta get into action. So, I mean, there's not anything specific I want to talk about, but I'm feeling alive once again, sort of,
Alive once again, sort of. I like these lukewarm statements.
Yeah, I feel like I'm
Soothing.
starting to notice that the sun is setting later and later, and that's making me happy.
Wait, that started last year, though.
I know, it's happened December 22nd, but I haven't noticed it until now, and so it's making me happy now.
Oh, I see.
I realized, it's 5 o'clock, and I still have some light out.
A little bit of light, that's right,
It could be some of what it is, like, not enough sunlight could be a big factor, actually,
Yeah, for sure, because they have the what was it, seasonal something depression.
Yeah.
It's SAD, right? SAD, seasonal something depression. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know what it is either. But yeah, I feel like I get that. Going into autumn and into the dark days where the sun sets earlier and earlier, and then I realize, and like,
do you feel like you're less depressed in summertime as compared to winter, like the bouts? Or
no, because summer also I don't get very much sun. autumn and spring are the months where you get the sun. Summer, you
it's
hide
bearable.
from the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be in the sun.
So do you feel like you have less bouts of depression or likelihood to feel depressed in spring and autumn?
That's a good question. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
So
I haven't
maybe
really
none of it has
kept
anything to do with anything.
Yeah, maybe not. I feel like there is some sort of pattern though. Like in the winter, like going into winter, there is something there for sure. But I think also another pattern is when my mental health is going down the toilet, I start wanting to leave the house less and less or go outside less and less. So I get less sun. Just I noticed like I had no motivation to get out and exercise or anything. And that's also a sign of like, okay, my mental health is deteriorating. It's getting, I'm not in a good place.
Freaking cold. Like, it's so cold right now.
Yeah, but you can exercise in the house or whatever, right? Like, that doesn't have to stop you.
I honestly think that it was the huge influx of sugar.
Oh, no, yeah, that too. I was going to mention that as well. But that's kind of like
that's a huge depressant.
Yeah, it definitely is. But that is like kind of chicken egg sort of thing where it feeds each other, where it's like you're depressed so you eat more sugar, and then you eat more sugar so you're more depressed, and then you don't sleep so you're more depressed, and then you're depressed so you don't sleep, and then you need sunlight to be less depressed, but because you're depressed you don't go out in the sun. So it kind of wants to feed itself,
Yeah, it's a crazy eight. It just loops forever.
Yeah,
it's an infinite crazy eight.
man.
Don't get stuck in the eights.
Don't get stuck in the eight. You gotta, yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, like, guys, it's so cold. It's ridiculous.
Today was warm though.
Yeah, today, but like this morning was freezing. It was so cold. All of my pansies are frozen. They're frozen. They've frozen outside. How do you keep plants alive? And our plant, Freddie, who is this beautiful fern that I bought like 10 years ago at IKEA when we first moved out to Tokyo with Masa. And I bought him and named him Freddie Mercury because he was just so just beautiful, and he was so flamboyant. But he's gone through like the shit, man. He's seen typhoons.
He's
and
nearly
he's
died
nearly
so many
died
times.
at least once a year. And there was a point when it was all dead, just except for one leaf. But now in the summer, this last year summer, he just like turned into this beautiful, gorgeous, vibrant, flamboyant Freddie once again.
Yeah,
and
he's
now.
back.
No, now he's half dead again because all of his winter's killing him.
Yeah, his leaves are freezing. You go like, and it's not like, oh, he's getting a little less healthy every day. It's like you go to sleep one night and you wake up and half his leaves are frozen.
Yeah, brown
dead.
and frozen and dead. And so now I brought him in the house. Hopefully, yeah, it's so sad. It's really cold, and I don't know how to deal with it. It's a little bit rough.
He's gonna be okay.
He's gonna be okay. Well, I mean,
much,
like,
much
now we've
worse.
moved on from him to me. Am I gonna be okay?
I see. That's where we're at now.
Yes, that's where we're at. It's very cold. Anyways, if you guys, any of you have any tips for how to keep plants alive in the freezing winter, send me a message.
Keep him in the house, probably.
Yeah, but what about the pansies that you have in your... People have gardens in the winter, too. They must.
Yeah. The frost takes over. They sow their winter crop. They sow their rye for their winter. They sow their winter crop.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't do that because I planted pansies because I heard that they're really good with the cold, but I don't know.
Do you feel like it's colder out here than it was in Tokyo?
For sure. Yeah,
right?
No question about it.
It's colder here, right?
It's way colder here.
Something about being out here where there's less people and less buildings and
there's less
stuff.
Buildings and for one, there's
the wind.
I mean, not just that, also just from under the ground. You know how many metros and different things are under the ground all over Tokyo, probably heating it up from underneath. None of that exists here. We wake up with frost on our roads.
Yeah. But it's always been this cold around here.
Has it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
Because I remember we lived just down the street when we were kids. And I remember...
Did your pansies freeze then too?
No, but thick frost on the ground, like crunch, 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 and the pond that we had was always frozen over in the winter. Definitely always
Right.
frozen.
Okay.
Like it was.
Okay, that's
It was
pretty
a
cold.
for sure thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's any colder than it ever was before, but it's now. I think we feel it more because we lived out in in
In
Tokyo for so
Tokyo,
long.
and it's really warm in Tokyo.
Even if it's cold, there's buildings blocking the wind for the most part, and you're always like 2 seconds away from darting in someplace and being warm again.
Yeah, that reminded me. Sorry, when you're talking about there's a building that will always shield you from the wind or the cold. Like when we went to New York, we went together, and it was supposed to be the coldest winter in
40
30
years or
years,
something.
40
Something,
years
yeah,
or something
some
like that.
crazy thing like
And it was
that.
so damn cold. And the thing about New York is that everything's on a grid,
Yeah.
and so if you turn a corner. Or if you go down one of these roads, you're just like freezing. You get like all the freezing ice air from the river, the Hudson River, or whatever rivers are around there. And then you try to turn a corner. No, there was nowhere to hide from the cold in New York.
So cold. We
it was
were
harsh.
Not prepared for that.
It
kind
was
of cold.
harsh, man.
I don't even remember what time of year we were there. Like, was it before New Year's? Was it in January?
I think it was in January because it was right after I came back from an event in Palm Springs.
Yeah, so
and that
we
was
went,
the end of December. So yeah, it was January.
Because I was invited for the casting for The Voice. So we went together, and we were only there for like
I was there for like 3
or 4 days,
yeah.
and I loved it, just like walking around and seeing all the sights and things and all the crazy people. But it was so cold. In the day, it was fine. And we kind of prepared, like we were like, we're going to New York, it's going to be cold, so
So we got a down jacket for under our jacket. So we got our double down jackets.
Yeah, so we had 2 jackets, and
I think
we got Heat Tech. I think I still own some of the shirts that we bought at that time.
Heat Tech, and you got long johns, and we got like hats and
we
stuff.
Thought like, oh yeah, we're gonna be great. And then we go out, and I realized that my shoes were just not built for the cold, and my toes were freezing. He brought
like freaking sneakers, like tiny, like thin little sneakers. I was at least wearing boots, so I was okay with my feet. It was
so cold, and we were walking around and at night, and it just did. I don't know.
Okay, so it was like the first night we got there, and we were so jet lagged that we were up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and so we were like, might as well walk around the city, go to see Times Square or whatever at night. We went and saw Cake Boss. There was a Cake Boss.
Well, I think we just stumbled upon it.
Took a video because one of my sisters was obsessed with him and sort of teased her about not being there. But yeah, so we were walking around in the dawn hours of New York, and I think we had very limited Wi-Fi options at the time. Or did we have a map? Were we Google mapping it? I can't remember. I must have brought like a pocket Wi-Fi or something.
We had maps. I mean, like we had phone.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. We were able to look at.
So I must have brought a Wi-Fi. Yeah. But yeah, we were walking around, and it was so cold. I couldn't walk anymore.
I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I need to get in and get warm.
So we had to we ran into the lobby of some hotel or motel or something like that, and there was a janitor there cleaning, and I think he thought we were bums.
Yeah,
and he was just like, vagrants. You guys can't.
He's like, you guys can't be here. You need to go. And I was so sad. I was like, but I'm cold.
And we were like, yeah, we're gonna go soon. We're gonna.
Like, can we continue on with this conversation of how we can't be here? Just 5 more minutes of you telling us off for not supposed to be here.
Man, that was so cold. That was really cold. And then I was like, yeah, no,
we were not prepared.
I was not prepared for it.
But I did love New York. It was really cool.
Really amazing. It was super fun.
It was quite dirty, though, I have to say. I mean, I know people talk about how it's so much cleaner now than ever was before.
Is it?
But I was surprised, just like the garbage situation of New York, like how there's garbage kind of on the road.
Well, that's just like Shibuya, if you think about it.
I suppose. Shibuya's dirty, too, though.
Shibuya's filthy.
Shibuya is surprisingly disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, if you hang out in like the middle of the night in Shibuya and just where the Koban is by
Koban means police box.
There's a police box kind of by the Tokyo Hands kind of area. Like there's this place where they dump all this garbage, and if you just sit there and watch, you could watch the garbage move like
I don't know why. For some reason, Masa always sees the rats and the dead carcasses
Yeah.
and the cockroaches running over his shoes and stuff. I never see these things.
Yeah. They're around. You just don't see them.
I think I just keep my head to the stars and you look down at the rats.
No, I feel the presence
You feel
of
the
of dead
presence.
things, and I look and I see the red dead thing. I'm like, oh, there it is, the dead rat.
Oh, so you feel dead things. I feel living things.
I mean, I feel living things too, but I don't know. That they kind of, it's kind of a weird
There's
thing.
some kind of a resonance there.
I don't know, like I always find it strange. Like, how come you don't see more dead things?
Me?
Everything lives and everything dies, but you see a lot of living things and very few dead things. Like, death is just kind of covered up. Like, even like birds. Where do birds go when they die? Like, there's birds all in the trees and in the sky and on telephone wires and all these things, but you never see dead birds. I mean, I do. But,
Yeah, Masa
but
does.
I don't see dead birds at the rate that I feel like that we should be seeing them. Where do they go?
They don't live here.
Do they like plunge into the depths of the water before they die? Like, goodbye. Like,
I don't know. Actually, that's really good. We should send an email to David Attenborough and ask him if he could
birds go when they die?
do a
I always
video.
wanted this. And like, do they go in a tree and wedge themselves in so they don't fall off? You would think that maybe they go find a tree and then they die in the tree and they fall out of the tree.
Yeah.
Wait, is something eating all the dead birds?
Yeah, or something's eating. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When they get older and weaker, probably they get killed or eaten by other predators, like by the crows, by cats.
How come we don't see the other predators?
You don't see crows?
What? Oh, the crows. What about the dead crows? I've only seen like
they
2 or 3 dead
each
crows.
other. I don't know.
Right?
Probably
Anyhow,
they eat each other.
These are the things I think about.
These are the things he thinks about, and he
Where
sees rats
are the
and
dead
death.
birds? Guys, if somebody can help me with this, if you know where all the birds go when they die, I want to know. Do they just disappear? Are they eaten by other creatures? Do they hide in trees and just not fall out of the tree when they die? If you climb the right tree, will you find the skeletons of birds just like...
Maybe you're just on the wrong side of the circle of life.
What do you mean?
So you just don't get to see the other side.
There is no wrong side. It's a circle.
Well, you're on the wrong side of the coin then. He didn't say it was a sphere of life. He said it was a circle.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Or maybe you're on the wrong side of the circle.
Two-dimensional circle.
Yes, the two-dimensional circle of life. And you're just desperate to peer to the other side and see.
I want to know. I want to know where the dead birds go.
Curious,
Hi, everyone.
Curious. Hi, everybody.
On the
welcome.
welcome.
Thank you for staying with us.
Here we are talking about absolute nothing. What's your topic, by
Yes,
the way?
okay. So my topic for today's podcast.
Oh, can I get my coffee? What?
You.
Sorry, I know you just started talking. Oh no, that's your one.
What are you doing, man?
Oh, twist it up. All right. Sorry, you talk about your topic while I get my coffee.
Okay. Oh my god.
No.
Oh my god. Why?
Am I doing something bad?
It's just what's going on.
I just want to get out and get my coffee.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so guys, my theme that we'll be discussing today was let's talk about LSD. Let's talk a little bit about acid. And so my question was to Masa was it allegedly like? What was your experience with it, and would you recommend it to someone else who's never tried it before? And if you, who would you recommend it to, and who would you recommend stay away from? Hofmann's potion.
These are
the questions.
Big questions. First of all,
that I thought we
have
cover
to
today.
make it clear that we're talking about illegal substance, right? So, in that way, I don't recommend it to anyone because it's illegal, And so in that way, it's like, no, if I'm not saying that people don't break laws and that breaking laws is not okay because there were laws that were stupid in the past and
there are still laws that are stupid now.
And there are still laws that are stupid now. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, like, if somebody was like, free the slaves back when slavery was legal, or women should vote when women not being able to vote was a thing, then they're not wrong. They're just born in the wrong time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, in that way, I don't feel like I have the right to, or I'm not in a position to recommend it to anyone, in that it's like, it's something where you're putting yourself at risk legally.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, no, if you value your freedom or your ability to move freely through society and the world or whatever where you live, then I don't really recommend it because it's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But all of that aside, like putting that all to the side.
The disclaimer is done.
No, I mean I don't say that just because it's illegal and I want to cover my tracks. I really say that as a real thing that I feel like. I wouldn't recommend anything illegal to anyone just for that one reason. That's like, this could put you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this could get you in trouble, and in that way, it's not a recommended activity in that.
Well, at least not in Japan. I'm sure it's
No, in the States, it's
is it still
illegal too.
in
Yeah.
the States? And
Yeah.
wait, what? So why is everybody? What are they doing?
They're doing it illegally.
Everybody's doing ayahuasca illegally.
Ayahuasca is legal in some places, but they have to travel outside of the U.S.
No, they have retreats within the States.
Do they?
Yeah.
Hey guys, tell us
I
more
was
about.
listening to a podcast
But
about
ayahuasca is not LSD.
Okay, I know. This
And
is very
ayahuasca
different.
is also different than DMT, which is the you know what ayahuasca, the active drug within ayahuasca is DMT, right? And whatever, some big fancy name for it, but basically there's DMT and there's another DMT too, which is like, there's two different DMTs that people smoke, and then there's ayahuasca, which is the natural organic way to get to that place, and it's, you know, a much longer trip than DMT, which is like a skyrocket 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? But back to LSD or acid, I really don't say that just kind of to cover my tracks. I really do mean it, that I don't feel like I can recommend it to anyone. Like, oh, you should do it, because that's something that they have to really have some sort of, how do you say? They have to follow their own moral compass or their own ethics to know whether or not it's worth it for them to risk.
Right.
To risk all of these things.
Right,
because there's
right.
an inherent risk to breaking rules. Like, but that aside, and just on its own merit without anything else getting involved, then it's another discussion, I guess. And that one is kind of tricky as well, wouldn't you say? Because I feel like I think there is a potential for people who have already, how would you say, like frail mental health.
Okay.
To have some kind of psychotic break or put their mental health in even more damage by doing a psychedelic like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely not for anyone, right?
Yes.
For everyone. However, there are some people in some situations where a trip might just change their lives in a really amazing way as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the wisdom necessarily to distinguish between
who that person is.
Who that person is.
But wait, what about all this talk about you being a shaman?
My
separate,
shamanism,
Your shamanism
is not reliant on
something
drugs.
else.
Okay, my shamanism is the original shaman. You know, the shamans, just people who were like, "Hey, I'm a shaman." Hey ya, hey ya, da 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 da.
No, that's the people that came after. Those are the
I'm more of like
posers.
a holistic healer.
Holistic healer. What he means is he's not actually a shaman. He's more of a court jester.
I think there's a comment here that says, "Gotta put yourself in the right environment with the right people. If you use LSD with seasoned users, they can recognize a bad trip and help to turn it around." So yeah, there are definitely tools within a trip to not turn it into a bad trip. There's definitely things that you can do to have a better trip than, you know,
Right.
up your
Well, yeah. So I definitely agree with put yourself in the right environment with the right people. But if you've never done it before, it's very difficult to know what that environment is. I guess nowadays, maybe I'm hoping that younger people are a lot more educated and aware of what these drugs are. Especially, like if you're at a party and there's a bunch of people there and someone just pops something in your mouth. That I can imagine would be a total
I've had that
that could be
happen.
a real train wreck. Like,
I've been dosed unawares to myself
yeah,
once.
yeah,
And it
right.
was okay because once I realized it had happened,
Mm-hmm.
I just surrendered to it. I was like, okay,
Mm.
this is happening. I can't fight it. You know, this is happening and it's going to be what it's going to be. It was still not the most pleasant experience just because I wanted to sleep that night. And of course, that didn't happen.
Hmm.
But it wasn't bad only because I surrendered to it. I
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
try to fight it, and I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
okay, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. This is
Mm-hmm.
happening. This is what it is. Here we go. Um, yeah,
Yeah. But
I
even so, that's yeah. Okay.
I feel like for people who have not ever done psychedelics before, there's no real way to explain it in words that will actually translate to them understanding what it is,
Of
because
course.
it's an ineffable
Yeah.
experience, right? It's something that you just sound like a crazy person when you try to. You sound very, very woo-woo when you're like, yeah, man, you feel the energy,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just
And you see the
becomes.
fractals, and yeah.
But I think very, very simply, it's one of these tools that can help you recognize patterns of yourself, things that you do, thoughts that you think, and
Mm-hmm.
patterns that you've been in that are so normalized by yourself that you can't see them anymore. It's like when you are always with somebody or always with yourself, you don't necessarily see your own growth. You don't
Right.
see yourself changing height,
Mm-hmm.
but imagine if all of a sudden you could see yourself again with fresh eyes, and all of a sudden you see, whoa, you got big, oh my god, look at you, you've really grown, and oh
Mm.
my goodness, look at your hair.
Mm-hmm.
It really got. It's kind of like that. All of a sudden you can look inside of yourself and see these things that you're so used to
Mm-hmm.
that you don't even notice that they're a part of you anymore.
Right. Yeah, it kind of shines. It's kind of like your vision expands, and whereas before you had like more of a pinpoint of a vision of what your life is, it's kind of like what's that eyeball thing? Your lenses just like open up so much more widely, and you can see so much more about yourself, about everything, and just everything around you.
And I think that can be a very terrifying thing, and I completely understand why so many people have a bad trip. And that can a lot to do with the fact that a lot of the things that you don't see about yourself are things that you don't see about yourself because you're actively or subconsciously not wanting to see those things. They're
Mm-hmm.
things that jeopardize the way you live and your existence as it your reality as you whatever
Right.
your
Yeah.
reality you've created for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and having those things in question risk your reality. You put
Mm.
your reality at risk. For example, are you truly happy in the relationship you're in? Did you really want the job that you have now? Is your relationship with your parents really the relationship that you wanted, or
Right.
just,
Yeah.
or like, were you really okay with certain decisions that you've made with your life that brought you here, or just whatever, right? Like, have you really grieved for the people that you've let go of?
Mm-hmm.
Have you really grieved for the versions of you let go of? Are you, or the dreams that you've let go of, or these different things that you sometimes you just push away because it's too much to look at, and you're just like, I need to exist now. I have this job. I need to survive. I'm trying to make it work with my girlfriend or my significant other or whatever.
Yeah.
And so these things are kind of like pushed off to the side because that's what your subconscious feels it needs to do to help you survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, when you trip, you can be bombarded with all of those things, and if you try to run while you're tripping from looking
Oh
at those things, you're
man.
gonna have a bad trip because it's
Yeah,
gonna
that's what it
follow you.
is, honestly.
It's
Like,
running. Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
is.
if you're
Yeah.
trying to ignore something that is unignorable, then that's when
Mm-hmm.
the trip gets really bad and really dark.
Yeah. If,
But if you can sit with the uncomfortableness, and if you can really sit with someone else who's willing to go into it with you and
mm-hmm.
create a safe space, then afterwards the release and just the freedom and the lightness of heart is amazing. But I
Right.
can imagine people getting stuck in that space and then just having the trip end,
Right.
like the drug wear off, which sounds like not fun.
And it's a weird thing that emotions or feelings or thoughts can be so strong that you can feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Or, but it's a real thing. And I think maybe we experience that in sober life, say when you have like a heartbreak, somebody breaks up with you,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're extremely jealous, somebody cheats on you and you feel really, really jealous, or you can feel these emotions so strongly that it affects you in sort of a,
No, but like it actually does affect you
yeah, like a,
physically.
in a physical way, right?
Like seriously, I.
But that's these small moments in our life that come and go, and maybe they feel huge, you know, the passing of a loved one and the grief that overwhelms you or whatever. But these moments, they come and then they go, and usually we do damage control and try to
Distract.
we try to distract and
Numb.
find ways like, oh, thank God, I'm really glad to be into work today because I just need a break from all the drama at home or whatever. You find these ways to kind of distract yourself or take breaks from that sort of emotional intensity, because it's a lot, right? It can be if you're in one of those situations. But when you're on acid, the volume is turned up to 11, and whatever it is in your life that's really the most important thing at that one moment, you're not going to be able to ignore it. It's going to be like, hey, I'm right here. Hey, buddy, you want to talk? You want to talk about that thing that you hid inside of yourself for 7 years and didn't want to look at? I'm here. You want to look at me now? And then you're like, no, I cannot. I will die if I look at you. I must run. Like, hey,
Yeah,
where are you running to,
because
buddy?
it's not just that. Because like depending on how far back it's buried, there's like branches and roots that spring off of that are holding up the entire facade of the life that you're pretending you want.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm saying you, but honestly,
I
I was
understand.
really just talking about myself in that moment. Yeah, and so to look at those things means to just tear it all down and break it, and in a way, you have to start from scratch. And I think very fortunately for me in the time back then when I was tripping, I was in a space in my life where I was actively tearing down parts of my life, and I wanted to break through all of my own bullshit and my own lies about what I thought I wanted for myself. And so in that way I just charged headfirst into breaking
Right.
all of that. And so I think I was a highly destructive force in my own life at that moment, but it was very cathartic.
Right. I think that maybe for you and I think for me as well, we by nature, I think we're very sort of like destruction leads to creation type of people. Like, like as far as our life goes and our like mental process, we're constantly throwing things out and making new things, constantly throwing things out and making new things. And I think for that reason, a trip isn't as scary because you're ready to look at something and throw it out and take on something new
Right.
but if you've carefully curated your life and built these structures and fortresses of protection for yourself, and you've kept yourself safe from this trauma that you had and that thing, and oh, I don't like to talk about that, and oh, I don't
Right.
that's not something I like to think about, or that's not something that I want to go into, then I would say perhaps if you really hold those things very dear to your heart, those structures that you've created to protect yourself,
Yeah.
then perhaps tripping is not for you.
Yeah, you might struggle with that.
You might either spend the whole trip running, or you may find yourself in a brand new place where all those things have been knocked down. And I think personally that if you get to the other side and you've actually get to that place where everything is knocked down, you'll be thankful for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So, but like the thing is, every time, it's not like it was like this for me every time I tripped. So the
no.
first time I tripped, I actually didn't even know what I was taking. I had no idea. It was just me and three other friends, and we were at my house, and it was, the middle of the night. And then one of the guys was like, "Hey, I have this. Should we do it?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "Sure, let's do it. What is it?" And I think he
Allegedly.
said it was, acid, but I still didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, okay. And it just turned out to be like the most beautiful, like eye-opening trip. But it wasn't, I can't say that it was very deep. It was just like rediscovering everything, going back to actually seeing everything through a child's eyes. Like it was brand new. Everything, all the colors were so vibrant, like little candles and just plants and stuff. And at some point, the dawn rose and we just wanted to go out and be in nature. So we walked out as the sun was rising and climbed a hill, and everything about it was beautiful. There was no shadow in my first trip.
There was no shadow on my first trip either.
Yeah.
It was all beautiful. It was
It was the oneness,
Yeah.
the oneness and the rediscovery of just how beautiful everything is and how right everything's meant to be. Because like this is one thing that happened every time I tripped before, was that usually you make a big fucking mess. You're like a kid, you pull out markers and whatever. You're like, oh, I'm going to try splashing water. And it's just the most beautiful thing in the world. And then you forget about it and move on. But at some point, I always like look at the room and it's an absolute just disaster zone. Like,
Yeah.
but whenever I see it, I'm like, oh my God, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Everything is meant
Yeah.
to be.
Everything's in the place that it's meant to be. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you
It's
don't want to move.
exactly right.
Sometimes you don't want to move things because you're like, it's right. It's supposed to be there.
But then you move it and you're like, oh,
Oh, it's found a new home. Look, the table is now touching the carpet in a slightly different place.
Yes.
And the carpet accepts it. It's gonna be okay.
carpet accepts it.
Yeah,
So that was my first trip. But like what I was gonna say is that eventually, after having tripped like 3 or 4 times, especially after on my birthday, we had like a big party and it was a big tripping party and it was great. But after that, that's when I had like probably I went the deepest I ever had up until then, and I realized that. I think you and I went really deep that night. We just like we didn't do anything. We just sat.
No, we didn't.
Next to each other.
We did do something.
And held
I think
hands.
we just cried a lot.
I think we just cried and held hands for like God knows how long.
Yeah.
But I think it was very clear that in that trip, other people had gone deeper than others, and other people just partied, stayed on the party level.
Yeah.
But after that trip, that's when I realized like this is not a drug for just
Play.
fractals and
Yeah.
the visuals and that beauty. This is where you get the work done. This is where you get shit done.
Yeah.
And so after that, every time I tripped, it was like, okay, what are we going to look at now? What pain cave are we going to go into to resolve the things that are just seem so much harder to reach in regular life? So that was my, I think, biggest realization for me. It was.
Yeah, I think for me too. I think after that point, it became a thing of sort of wanting to have some sort of intent before going in, of something, of some kind of intent. Lay out an intent for yourself, or else, I think it's fine without it too. But sometimes you can get lost in other people's like machines and shenanigans and sort of like huge whatever energy tornadoes that they create, and then you're like, why what am I doing here, why? And it's nice to be able to come back to some kind of intent and be like, oh, this is what I wanted to do for this. I wanted to connect with myself, or I wanted to connect with a certain friend, or I wanted to look at this certain thing that I don't really understand in myself, or whatever. I've heard so many people talk about their trips, and a lot of people end with, and then I got left all alone, or whatever, and how terrible that is. But for me, it's always been, in a trip, I always want
a moment of
I always
solitude.
want a door to my own room, or a place that I can go that's my place.
Yes.
Nobody else,
Yes.
needs to be there. It's my safe place where I can be by myself. And I always want a door out of the building I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to have a couple of different exits that I can just be like, I know I'm not stuck in this room.
Right.
I'm not stuck in this room. I'm not stuck with you. I'm not stuck with anybody.
Yeah.
I can at any point leave, go out, take a walk.
I think that's really important, though, to be able to have
or go back
that.
to my bedroom and be but with myself. I feel like those two things are really helpful, and when you don't have those, that's when the weird bad feeling, like you're in a city where you don't know where anything is, and then you're in a house with strangers and you're tripping, like, no, please don't do that. Like, bad idea.
You're in a club. That sounds terrible. A friend of mine, I've never tripped with her before, but she told me, she was like, she was in a club and someone had spiked I don't know, punch, whatever it was they were drinking, and all of a sudden everybody's faces in the club started to turning into demons, and I was like, yeah, that's not good. That's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time where I was kind of just sitting there and observing other people, and it was really interesting to see how it just felt like, oh, these other people that I'm watching are actively fighting the effects of the very thing that they took.
Really?
Like, oh, I'm not gonna go deep in anything. Let's go outside. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, let's do this. Hey, how about we look at this shiny thing, trying to distract themselves from what the psychedelic was actually trying to do, which is get you to be with yourself for a second and feel whatever it is that you're actually feeling. And it's a scary thing, because sometimes you might take it at a time where you're not doing very well. And I think that's the only bad trip I had, was the time that I tripped, and I kind of knew in my mind before I tripped, I'm not in a good place right now. Like, I'm not in a good place mentally. My emotional, like, my mental health is not quite together in this moment. And I was like, well, we'll see what happens, maybe it'll be okay. And that was my worst trip. And it wasn't terrible, but it was just like, I'm here and I'm not getting out of here. Not in a sort of not in a panicky way, like, oh, I'm never going to leave this place, but just like, this trip is just going to be you here, in this sort of not great place.
Right.
It wasn't the worst place, but I felt bad. I felt the main feeling I had was a feeling of, like, I felt bad for everyone else. Like, I'm sorry that I'm a buzzkill. Like, I'm sorry I'm here. And everyone was like, no, it's fine, And I just felt like, but that was kind of a bad. My trip was feeling sorry that I was feeling sorry, that I was feeling sorry, that I was feeling sorry,
Yeah.
So in a way, I learned something from that too. And I was like, okay, this is the pattern that I fall into, and it's nice to see it so clearly.
Yeah.
That this is what I'm doing over and over in small ways in my life, is I feel sorry, and then I feel sorry that I'm feeling sorry, and then it continues on.
Right.
So even that, it wasn't a total waste of time, but that was definitely my worst trip. Because I did it in a time where mentally, I don't think I was kind of already sleep deprived.
Right.
And I knew I wasn't doing well. And I would say that's another recommendation I have. If you know you're not in a good place, just
don't put yourself in that.
Put yourself in that position. If you know that you're dehydrated and sleep deprived, or that you're mentally not completely there.
Yeah.
Do it at a time where you're feeling good. You're feeling good about yourself, You may end up realizing that feeling good is not 100%, and there's things that you need to look at, but at least you'll be doing it from a place of a full tank of energy. And
yeah, I would say do it from a full tank of energy,
right?
Because it's going to take a lot of your physical, emotional, mental energy, a lot. And make sure that you have a day to rest afterwards if you can.
Yeah, because it's one of those rides that once you hop on, you're not hopping off for a while. No. And it's not like it's not like something where you can like, whew, all right, let's take a break, right?
All right, guys, let's tone it down
whoa,
now.
Whoa, let's all take a break. It doesn't, there's no break. It just keeps going. And so you better love the roller coaster ride, because if you don't get on it. Like, you know, like, if you can actually enjoy it, like, I can ride a roller coaster and be totally relaxed, you know, but some people ride a roller coaster and they're freaked out.
Yeah.
Different personalities. I don't think, if you're that type of personality, I don't know if you like it very much. If you would
enjoy it in that way.
You know, I mean, because it doesn't let you off for a long time, and it's not like, wee, that's fun, okay, we're done. It's like, wee, you just keep going.
Yeah, you keep going, wee.
Right?
I think that's why you witness people starting to be like, no, I'm not going to go into this now, using, you know, they go down their wee, and they're like, I've had enough wee, okay, so let's just, like, focus on the lights, or the, you know, I think that's what that is. It's like they've chosen the level at which they want to stop, but you can keep going wee, you can wee forever, but then that too is also a trap, the wee forever, and that's the one that I tend to go in.
Right. I mean, I meant wee like a very sort of like going deeper and deeper inside of yourself roller coaster ride.
Yeah, that's what I mean too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people don't want to stay on that ride. They're like, when they get a glimpse of, you know, the little hints of it's coming, and, or, you know, the things, the shadow that they are hiding from themselves, they're like, okay, all right, we're not going there.
Yeah.
We're just going to party. Okay. That's what I took this drug for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think not very quickly, but over time, we both sort of realized that it's not for that. And
well, at least not for me.
We stopped. Yeah. We stopped using it that way. And I mean, I would say, for me, the best way to use it is in a safe place, preferably at home, with people that you know that love you and know that you love. You know, and if you're inexperienced, somebody who has some experience too does help. Just to know, like, hey man, you wanna listen? You wanna put on some music? You know,
or someone who can switch it up. Someone
you wanna drink some water, or you know, hey, let's go take a walk,
or hey, here's a flower.
Yeah, hey, look at this flower.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
It's definitely important. I would say if you have the luxury of someone who can babysit you, but not necessarily be there with you the whole time, just someone you know that is a safe space for you if you start getting into some deep holes that you know you're not going to be able to get out of.
There's no hole that you can get out of. You can't get out of, no. There's no hole that you can get
I know, but sometimes it's good to have help, like a stabilizing force.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I don't know, I've never really had a babysitter, though, like someone who was sober.
No, you don't need a sitter. I mean, it's nice to have a sitter. I think we've always had people around us who were not doing it, you know, or for the most part, but I don't think you need a sitter as much as just have somebody who has a little bit of experience. If you're not experienced, you know, can be a nice thing, because it's easy to get overwhelmed or completely lost. You know, you can get stuck in a corner of the room looking at a wall, feeling weird, and someone can come along and be like, hey, look at this other wall, and you're like, oh, another wall.
Yeah. Oh, I thought my whole life was this wall.
If you open the curtains, there's a window. Oh, see-through walls. You know, it's a nice thing to have somebody who has a different perspective there with you, for sure. Yeah, I really do think it can be a huge tool, though. A really amazing tool for unlocking, just for learning about yourself and learning about the world and seeing it from a different perspective. And it's funny, like, as the years go by, and full disclosure, it's not like I or June are you know, tripping out these days. Like, this is ancient history we're talking about. But as time goes on and time passes, more and more time is in between me and the last time that I've used a psychedelic. these things become blurrier and blurrier, and are like degrees of separation become more and more, to where it's almost like a distant
Yeah.
memory, and it's kind of like off there. But still, I feel like they've given me a different sort of perspective on life, or a different perspective on what is possible, that I would have never had if I hadn't had those experiences. Just, there's certain things that before I would have been sure, I would tell you 100%, okay, this is, that's just woo woo, or that's just crazy, or but after having an experience like that, it makes you think, like, well, maybe it is, but then again, maybe not. There's
Well, I
a
think
whole
it definitely helps you question what you think you know.
right.
Yeah.
Because before that, like, all this stuff about like energy and telepathic communication and auras and stuff is kind of like, yeah, whatever. But there's something, right? There's definitely something that you experience, and what
Well,
it is, and can it be scientifically measured? Maybe not. But just because it's not measurable doesn't mean it's not real. So yeah, it definitely have a different perspective ever since tripping. Of just like, okay, there's a lot we don't know.
yeah, I mean, it just expands your mind in a way that you can't go back to living the same way if when you go, I think, deep enough. You can't go back to living the same lies. Like for me, I was um what was I doing? I was in the middle of a divorce, a separation at the time, and I was also seeing someone else. And I think for me, the lie that I was trying to live in that moment was that we had to separate. My ex husband and I, was that we had to separate because there was nowhere to go from here, and there just wasn't enough love or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I think through the tripping, it became incredibly clear that no, we loved each other very, very deeply, and that was never going to go anywhere, and that, for certain aspects of our time in our life, that we were the absolute loves of each other's lives, and there was a portion of that would never die. I don't
Yeah.
think you ever stop loving someone, but that just became so clear.
Right.
And so
But that's a
through
hurtful thing to look at
yeah,
when
it's
you're in
a
the middle of
really
a divorce.
hurtful thing to look at,
Yeah.
and our separation, our divorce, it stretched out over about a year. But I think having that experience, and I even I don't know if I can. Okay, never mind. Yes, but so having that experience definitely helped us to be able to see where the other person was coming from, and not just see it, but really feel it and experience it on a deeply, deeply cellular and visceral level. And so it made it a lot, not easier in any way, but a lot simpler. And
Mm.
then after that, it was just a matter of trying to honor each other's experience and our emotions as we moved apart slowly, bit by bit, not with any less love, not with any less pain, but still moving apart one step at a
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped to facilitate the steps forward, as opposed to, no, we still love each other, we have to stay together.
Right.
But
So it seems like a very opportune, like a perfect moment for you to be going on that sort of adventure, because it's like you're closing one chapter, opening, a new one. And I feel like it's mm, it's a good time. It's good timing, because in a way you don't have very much to lose. Like your walls of structure had already been crumbling,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
As far as like,
I had already broken them.
yeah.
I'd broken them, and then it was like, well, now that I've broken everything, not everything,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that I thought were important. I was like, well, let's break this down a little bit more and just see what's at the core, what's at the bare bones.
Mm.
And yeah, that's something that I hope to continue to do. I don't think I can do it as powerfully and effectively in such a short amount of time as you can when you're tripping. Um, and that was one thing that I also found very frustrating about tripping, was that uh, afterwards, so you get all of these insights and clarity about so much about your life, and you're like, yes, that's it, that's the next 10 steps. Usually in my life I can only see one, and if I'm lucky, 2 or 3 steps ahead of what's going on. The rest is very foggy and murky. But like when I'm tripping, it's like all of those clouds clear,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
see
You
the
see the whole.
ladder, the
Yeah.
stairway, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that's it. And it just seems so easy and so fast. And then when you come back to reality, it's so slow. Like, even if you understand the solution or what you need to do to rectify whatever wrongdoing or whatever problem or issue that you're dealing with, it's so clear and you can see it so easily. But then when you come back to your regular life, you're still stuck with your old patterns.
Right.
Still stuck with yourself and your habits, and that stuff doesn't change overnight no matter what you've seen. But for me, it was so important to be able to see it, because I can never forget what I saw and where I'm going and what is important. And even though I can only see maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of me right now, I still have that vision so clearly in my mind
Right.
that it keeps me stepping forward.
You just kind of reminded me of something. One of the things that I feel, and I didn't realize this right away, but as later on, as I was like around the end of my tripping days, um, one of the things I felt about it was that the insights that you gather from psychedelics, they're not really earned insights. You kind of cheated to get there in a way. You sort of like overloaded your brain with a certain chemical to get it to become, I don't know, hyperactive in certain areas, whatever the science is behind it. Basically, you're kind of cheating your way to this place of
Of
deep,
nirvana.
of deep insight, of deep connection, of perhaps acceptance, or all of these kind of things, but they're not really earned. You haven't done
Yeah.
the work for them.
You don't have the muscle.
You don't have the actual muscle. So even though you can get there and you can see those things, and you can understand them in that moment, when you come back, you can't stay there, and you can't even hold all of those things that you understood, or the lessons that you might have learned while you were there. You can't bring them back with you necessarily, because you haven't earned them. In your life, you're still in the same position you were when you were before you started that trip. The only thing is, now you have this knowledge inside of you that it is there, it is possible.
Yeah.
These things that you have seen are real. There are places inside of you that you can go where there is peace, where there is joy, where there's acceptance, where there's love, where there's all of these things that maybe you only thought you deserved a certain level of. All of a sudden you see, oh, there's more of it, and it's real, and it's possible. But at that point, no amount of tripping is going to help you get closer to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's about actually doing the hard work in
Then
real
it's like,
life.
okay, how do you make this happen in your real life, and how do you make the changes that you need to make to have these things come to you in your regular life? Because I think that can be a danger too, is like chasing the dragon, of just like chasing the trip, trying to get back to the good trip.
That's what I was gonna say, because the trip isn't the true truth.
No, it's not the truth.
No, it's about, it gives you like a flash forward, or like a glimpse, and then I think it's like you go in. No, that's not a good analogy. But yeah, it just gives you a glimpse and a space where you can very quickly clear away all of your bullshit and look at what is truly on the table, and then from there you can design what you want for yourself and have a very clear view of what that is. But then you have to come back and enact it in your real life.
Right.
It's not like, because you see it there, that is true, stay in the dream. It's like, no, it's about taking what you see even in real life. It's about taking the dream or image you have in your head and somehow manifesting it into this world.
Right.
At some point, this microphone didn't exist in this world, but someone saw it in their head and they pulled it
But isn't it
out
amazing
and
that
turned
like
it into this.
when you're tripping, true joy and true true, I shouldn't say true, but like joy and acceptance and like peace and all of these amazing things, like all of the best things that you ever want to feel or be are there and accessible for you in any moment, no matter where you are in your life. You know, and that's one thing that becomes really clear when you trip is like, oh, it's not about what I have or where I am or where I'm not.
Yeah.
You can access all of those things at any time if you have the knowledge, right? If you know how to, if you know where to go, if you know how to get there. Like it's not about where you're at in your life, because there's always some sort of it's the climb, right? It's like there's never an ending to where, right, to life. It's like no matter where you are, there's someplace that you're going to after that. There's the next step that you need to take. You're going to progress or digress, whatever. Is that a word?
Yes, it's a word, but that's not.
Is not the right word?
It's okay.
You're gonna progress, or the other thing that's the opposite of progress.
Retreat.
Whatever. Whatever. But you know, like wherever you're at, there's something better that you could get to. There's something maybe not as great that you could get to, and you're always going to be moving. But in any place that you are at, you can find sort of happiness and peace and all of the good things, grateful feelings. You can laugh hysterically and all of those things in any of those moments. But the one thing that I always feel after I trip is just like this burning desire to get back to life. Like, I need to get back to life. I need to go and do the things.
Yeah,
you know, like I need to go hug my kids, and I need to go tell these people that I love them, and I need to do this thing that I've been putting off or whatever, like, because but maybe not the first couple of trips, but as time went on, that's the main feeling that I would leave with every trip. It's like, oh my goodness, I love my life. Like, I love, and it can only get better if you put more love and more energy into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I forget in day-to-day life sometimes, is that, you know, sometimes I'm holding my breath for things that could be or will be one day.
Yeah.
And sort of like, oh, I'll be happy when that thing happens, or I will be complete once I fulfill whatever this task. Until then, I deserve to be unsatisfied and unfulfilled, or whatever, right?
Is that what the deal is with...
No, but you know what I mean. Like,
Okay.
there's something there where it's like, oh, I need to get to this next step in order to feel joy, or in order to feel these things.
That's really interesting. I think that's kind of like just the through line of your life. It's the through line.
You don't write a through line for my life.
What? No,
keep
like
it,
what? A through line.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, so like, say for instance, in stories and movies, there's the main character, but there's the
but
through
I'm
line.
telling you,
the
don't
thing.
write my through line.
I'm not. I'm saying, but I think that is it for you. It's just the.
Here
love.
you go. Now you're writing it.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, but no, what is it?
Forget it. I'll just talk about mine. So as you were talking, I was thinking about whenever I trip, the thing that keeps coming up for me is that I just need to say the hard thing. And say the thing that will break the thing or the person or the facade of the thing and the person. And then beauty, then creation, create. I don't know. That seems to be mine in every.
So what were you going to say was my through line?
Is that you need to keep telling people about that you care and that you love them, and that just sharing the love. I think that's it for you. For me, it's about like
maybe so.
I mean, slapping people a bit.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know if that is or isn't, but that's definitely something I feel is like every time I trip, I have this feeling like, oh, I need to get back, and well, it's just like it's a different feeling than I usually have. My usual feeling throughout life is kind of like, oh, there's things I need to do, and the things that I do will make me feel better. You know, it's a very unhealthy way to look at things, but it's like, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat food. When I eat food, I will feel less hungry, or when I get my paycheck, then I'll this, or when I receive my Amazon box, right? I'll feel this,
Right.
or
Yeah. Just
whatever. That kind of stupid kind of pattern. But when I trip, I always realize, oh, happiness is here now. I can feel it now. I have access to all of the things that I want in this moment, and all the things in the future are things that I want to do, not that I need to do in order to feel happiness.
Interesting.
And it's like, oh, it's such a refreshing feeling. If only I could hang on to this. And then, slowly as time goes on, it drifts away, and I'm back to chasing the good feeling. And
Right.
So thanks me for reminding myself of that.
That's really great. It's almost like we're having a trip here.
Yeah.
Well, because apparently your brain can't distinguish the difference between reality and what a memory or what's going on in your brain. So as you recall things, your body is actually experiencing again. So guys, we are tripping. But not really.
No.
Just for the.
Then there's all the woo-woo stuff that's just like you almost don't want to talk about it. Because,
really? I love that stuff.
Because it's just so nuts and out there that
it's not actually nuts or out there.
I know
if you
it's
follow
not
the
nuts
science,
I know it's not nuts or out there.
It's only nuts
are
out there to people who are not
how you
educated
can read people's minds and stuff, and be having like silent conversations with people, and
it's not nuts. It's okay.
No, it's not nuts, but it is kind of nuts, and like how you can project stuff out in a direction and somebody can see it and stuff like that. Like I've definitely had experiences like that where we're both looking at the same thing and silently, seeing kind of like a show happen in the sky or in the clouds or in the stars,
right.
And then later talk about it and be like, hey, did you see that too? And like, yeah. And was it doing this? Yes. And having weird projections of what you're feeling, or sort of almost like you're creating some sort of thing together, a collaboration, right? Your energy plus my energy equals some sort of dance that is now being projected out in some way, and we can both watch it happen. It's a weird thing,
It really is a very strange thing. Yeah, so for me, when I used to trip, one thing that I would see a lot is in front of people's faces, especially this one person. Whenever I would look at him, his face would just look like a giant, huge gear was in front of his face.
I've seen it.
And then whenever you'd say something, be like, this little gears here would tick, 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 and then these would all like whirl and like move. And I saw the machine of his brain, and I was like, I know exactly how you think. And then it was almost like a game. I would start saying what he was going to say before he could even say it, because I saw the machine. I saw how it worked so well, and I was like, that was really wild. Yeah, I'll never forget that. And then there was someone else who would constantly shift between faces. Your face would continually change, I think to fit whatever most worked in that situation, perhaps. That was also very interesting, seeing different people's, perhaps, I don't know if coping mechanisms are the right word, but whatever it is that we do.
The weird machine brain, like the mind machine, is really a strange thing, because I don't think people's brains develop to process information the same ways, and so people have these different weird ways of thinking, like input output,
processing information.
It's like that guy who's like this crazy genius at math, and they found out that the part of his brain that's supposed to be controlling his eye reflexes was doing the math.
Whoa.
And because your eyes move super fast, and like the processing of the information has to be super fast, his math brain was super fast.
Wow.
Because somehow his brain had routed numbers to that part of his brain. And so he was doing the information there, which made him like this huge speed monster. It's not like everyone else doesn't have that same speed. They're just not using it for math.
Yeah, right.
And like...
That's so interesting.
And it just, you kind of see those things or feel those things when you're tripping from different people.
Right.
And the weird, different energies that people put out there, and I know it sounds so woo-woo, but it's
doesn't.
absolutely true that people have their own unique sort of mind machine. That's really
Well,
interesting
like
to
your brain
see.
is literally a machine.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
literally a processing machine, so it's not that like
Yeah,
weird.
but the weird part is usually you don't have a machine where you can have some weird projection of what's going on within the CPU. But I don't know. Like I've thought about this a lot. It's like, okay, maybe it's just your breathing plus your eye movement plus your body language plus all of these little signals that when you're tripping you're able to lock onto and extrapolate tons of information from. Maybe, right? Maybe we're putting out so much more than we think we are as far as
No, we're
our.
definitely all putting out more. There's something like what I don't even know what I said last time. It's like 30 billion or 3 trillion bits of information that are constantly going
Right.
around.
Yeah.
And I like, I mentioned before when you're tripping, then literally the lens like zooms
Yeah.
out and you get to see a much larger version, and so the
Right.
sensory input becomes so much larger, and perhaps we are always putting this out.
Yeah.
But we have to limit because your brain can only
Right.
focus on 3 to 4 things at one time, what you can actually be aware of in that
Right.
moment, whereas when you're tripping you can process so much more, you can be
Right.
aware of so much more at the same time that you
Well,
can pick up on
yeah,
these
I
things.
mean, the way I've heard it explained was that, LSD is supposed to break down all those filters that you usually have up to chunk information.
Yeah, pretty much exactly
Right?
what I
Yeah,
said.
what you just said,
Yeah.
nah? But I suspect that it's more than that, like the outward, the things like your eye movement plus body language plus facial expression, the face muscles plus breathing, because I can actually, if I were to look at you now, I can see when you're inhaling and exhaling and your eyes and how they're shifting and
Just
I
because
would.
you're focusing on it.
No, I get it. I get that.
Okay,
And
sorry,
I
go
would say
on.
if I was tripping, that might be enough information to actually see inside and see what you're thinking, kind of. Maybe. But I feel like it's probably more than that. Like, when you're tripping, the amount of information that you receive off of somebody, it kind of feels like it's more than just body language, facial movement, all the things that are on the outside. It's almost like you have this weird window into the sort of like the, I don't know how else to put it, but energy. Like
Yeah, it's just energy. I don't know why that's a weird thing to say. What is everything in this universe made out of? Like, if you break
well,
it down to
I only think it's weird. I don't think it's weird. I just think it's an overused word. And that's the thing with overused words is they lose their power. Like awesome has lost its power because everyone says awesome everything. So awesome should mean, like fear and trembling, right? Complete awe. It's awe.
Right.
It's full
Okay.
of it's the way you look at the world will never be the same again because of this awesome thing. Whereas now we're like, hey dude, this cup of coffee's awesome, man, right? And I feel the same way about the word energy. It's just thrown around so much that when you use it, it has no power.
Well, I was thinking about it purely in a scientific form. Like, if you
Mm.
break down the atom, what is inside the atom, and if you break down what electrons, neutrons, protons, this is all energy. Everything that we are, this couch is energy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't feel like it's weird or woo-woo at all.
Right. But do you feel like there's energy that you have that's projecting out and I'm receiving the information? Like you're sending protons or photons or atoms of energy in some way that's reaching me? Obviously you are, because sound
Obviously,
waves are
yeah,
energy
yeah.
and heat is coming off
Yeah,
your body.
Yeah.
Right? So that's some energy, but like beyond that, like a different energy, an unimmeasurable energy is coming from you.
Like feminine rage.
Yeah, or I don't know, like the aura, like.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, like, guys, information is. I'm not going to get frustrated. There are a lot of studies on this, and you can find it if you do a little bit of research. It's not new, especially in a lot of scientific communities. But you know what? Knowledge belongs to those who pursue it.
You're such a great advocate of sharer of the knowledge.
I know, I am. But the thing is, I
Like,
realize that I'm also pretty shit at retaining knowledge of details.
yeah, see, I don't actually disagree with you. Like, I believe it too, but I don't have anything to back it up other than my experiences. I only have my anecdotal evidence or like information.
Right,
That's all I
see.
have.
So this
And,
is why people prepare for their episodes.
I mean, and you say, oh, the scientific community. To me, that's another like word like energy. It's like
Yeah, that's
people
fair enough.
throw it around, but then there's never any backup for it.
It's
like,
true. It's true. Next
right?
time I will bring
Right?
bring
It's like
names
research
and I will bring
shows, and
studies.
it's like,
You're right. That's exactly what
And-
I was thinking. That's why people prepare for episodes.
and I believe you because I've had those experiences, so I know. But I'm speaking more as kind of like a devil's advocate of,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people
I
who
think
just
that's
roll
fair.
their eyes when they hear the word energy because it's just so woo woo. It's like, the crystals, man, they have energy, and they have energy, and man, you gotta breathe out that bad energy and breathe in the good, and it's just yeah, it's an overused word. I wish there were more delicate words to handle such a nuanced thing.
But I don't think it's nuanced.
Because then you're like, everything's energy, and then once again it's like everything is awesome. It's like
Everything is awesome.
You're like- it's like everything is awesome. Now everyone's special, so no one's special. Everything is energy, so nothing's energy. It's like,
What? Huh?
I mean, I'm just saying we need better language. We need more language to describe these ineffable things.
No, but that's the exact point, is that they're ineffable. That's why they can't be described. They're inexplicable.
Yeah, but so was electricity before we came words to describe electricity. It was an ineffable thing. It was like, there was a bolt of lightning from the sky. What was it? Oh, just power. It was awesome, right? Everything was awesome. And then somebody realized, oh, it's electricity. It's static electricity. There's a positive charge and a negative charge. The right, and then the electricity is released. Actually, finds its path to the ground. Right, we found words to describe these things.
Honestly, I think there already is vocabulary for everything you're describing.
Yeah, there is maybe,
No.
but
Okay.
there are words to describe it, but there aren't words that are like readily accepted in the lexicon so much that we know them and can converse with them.
Oh, of course not. So
Right?
what's the point of even using those words? Is the question I have now.
What do you mean?
What's the point of even using these words, because they're not accepted within the lexicon of the vocabulary that we use now, but you still want something that is more sacred than the word energy?
No, not
that what it is?
sacred. Not sacred. I mean useful. I would like useful tools to talk about these things, right? So, okay, you could use the word, for example, you could use the word aura to describe somebody's personal energy, right? But then that word is mixed up in a lot of leaves a bad taste in people's mouth, and it may not be the accurate word, right? It may be like talking about Thor instead of talking about lightning as an electrical charge, right? They're the same thing. They're the thing that brings the lightning down and the thunderclaps. But before we called it Thor, the god, or Odin, or whatever it was, the god of lightning and thunder, because we didn't know that it was a thing, right? They're the same thing. They bring the lightning, the electrical charge, or Thor. But we called it Thor, and then now if you were be like, oh, Thor's in the sky this evening, it'd be a little bit weird. People might not take you too seriously.
I don't know. At this point, if you can identify as an animal,
It's true, yeah.
then who's to say? Like, come on.
But
you don't make the rules here.
I guess
Masa.
what I'm saying is that, okay, if you are truly correct and there's a lot of scientific study and research going into these fields, and there are good words to describe these things, I'd love to know what these words are, because it'd be really nice
Yeah,
to
I
be able
agree.
to use it, to be able to distinguish between energy, which is essentially everything. All matter is energy, like you said. So it's a really sort of like everything is awesome sort of thing. Like, yeah, well, when we're talking about energy, don't you know, everything is energy. It's like, okay, then what are we talking about, right? How can we break this everything into smaller chunks that we can talk about? Like the personal energy that you transmit off of yourself and that gets picked up, you know?
Right.
The way that I can tell if you're angry by just you walking in the room. Maybe that should be broken up into chunks of body language, breathing, and then maybe there's something else though. That's what I'm saying. Is maybe it could just be body language and breathing and the way you act. But I have a suspicion there's something else, right? There's some kind of energy, quote unquote, aura. What's another word for it? Like a sort of like transmitting of signals that I'm receiving off of you, and I'd love vocabulary to be able to talk about that. And yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Got it. That's cool. But do you want to do any of the research or studies to get that vocabulary, or you just wish it was more mainstream so it was just falls into your lap?
I mean, I guess I would do research, but I think it's one of these things where I mean, I don't know. I'm not
hoping it'll fall into your lap.
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit. I'm not. I mean, the thing about doing research is anything that you want to find, you're going to find it. So you kind of have to be a little bit careful about how you look for things.
So yeah, if you want to find it actually has to mean something to you then.
No, I mean, if you want to find that the Earth is round, you can research it and find that the Earth is flat. You can research it and find that the Earth is flat. So if you go out looking for a confirmation of what you already believe, so you're going to find it.
That's exactly what I mean. That's why at that point it really has to mean something to you to go beyond just finding something to confirm your bias.
Yeah, well, usually it's just talked between you and I, and so in that case, I don't care, right? Because it's like I know that my ideas will be communicated to you quite easily because you know what I'm talking about. You've experienced it too. So whether I call it energies or whatever, it doesn't really matter to you.
Right.
You'll accept it.
Okay.
But when I'm talking to somebody else and I want to communicate it, that's when it's like, oh,
well, that's okay.
I'm stuck sounding woo-woo because I actually don't have any tools to describe this.
And also, that's not something that is communicated verbally. That's something that is communicated through an experience. You can only give someone an experience for them to have it. This is not a word exercise. Or maybe it can be.
But it's a conversation.
Yeah, but
like conversation's kind of a word exercise.
But like we mentioned earlier, if you're talking to someone, you can't describe it to them in any way that will prepare them for what that is actually going to happen once they trip.
Right.
And so even if you have all of the scientific explanations and you can explain it all down to a T, to your most amazing professor's approval, it's not going to be anything close to a comprehensive explanation or report of the actual experience of it.
Well, that's what is the now see, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but there's all right. This is the first time in our history that June is getting up. Oh, I get to wear the headphones because June's going to the bathroom. Gosh, I wish I had that word that I was looking for, but that's okay. I guess for me, my dilemma is that on one side, I love science and I love the idea of speaking within the realm of science and using the scientific method of questioning things. And I really, really value that, especially because of the way I was raised and the lack of sort of scientific thinking and scientific questioning growing up. That I really do value that. And so I find myself in conflict with myself sometimes when I'm talking about these things like energy and these things, because it's a place of, I think, where the science hasn't caught up with the things that are happening or the things that people are experiencing. And so I do accept that just because it's immeasurable or hasn't been measured yet or hasn't been identified yet by science, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just only means that, we don't know yet. That's fair, and those are the things that get the magical thinking sort of like a blanket on top of it, are all the things that we don't know yet, right? So lightning was a god of thunder before we understood electricity, and the all of those type of things that we don't understand, we put magic on top of it, and I'm conflicted because on one hand, I definitely feel the magic of it. I definitely have experienced the supernatural, magical mysteries of Spongoland. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do really treasure the scientific method, and I really do value the ability to question things and look at them critically. And so that's my sort of inner conflict that I have when talking about these things, is I don't deny that I've experienced them, and at the same time I do feel like I lack I don't know, just almost like a vocabulary to even discuss it or pick it up, I don't know, dissect it. But that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But I don't know, you were saying something before you left.
I forgot what I was saying.
Oh, yeah. There's a word. I don't remember what it is. It's a Greek word. I think it's like kinesis or something. But it's I don't know what it is.
What's it supposed to be for?
It's there's a Greek word.
Talking about Chronos?
See. Maybe.
For what? Greek word to know.
There's
Huh?
Gnosis or no, I don't know what it is, but there's a kind of, it's like a idea of there's a knowing of, say, like you're talking about knowing how lightning works. You could live in a bunker your whole life and know how lightning works, and you can be like, okay, so the electricity comes down from the cloud to the ground, and there's the electrical charge, and it has this many volts and this many amps, and it can cause this much damage, whatever, and it but that never compares to
being in a lightning
storm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I agree with you there that, like, when talking about psychedelics, there's a level that can't really be explained. You just have to experience it to really know what it's about. But at the same time, I wish we could explain it as well as we can a lightning storm.
You can explain a lightning storm?
What?
How well can you explain a lightning storm?
Better than I can. Better than energy. I can do it in more detail than.
All right.
There's an energy, man.
I like that. Okay.
Anyhow.
But so the question was, who shouldn't trip? And I guess maybe that's irrelevant at this point.
I would say people who are struggling with mental health issues. I would say, for one, if you find yourself in a place where you're in a frail state mentally, I would say probably as a general rule, unless you are so called to it that nothing I say will dissuade you, in which case you will do whatever you're going to do, right? Which is fair. That probably I would advise against it. If you have schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder or something like that, or you're on a bunch of SSRIs or antidepressants or those kind of things, I couldn't recommend it to anyone like that, just because I don't know how safe it is. Maybe it's gonna be what cures somebody as well, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not in a position to really know that. So if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, you probably shouldn't be tripping, right?
Or you might just be the best little truck driver out there.
The most creative and entertained truck driver ever.
Forever, you.
I don't know. What about you? What do you think about, like, who should not trip? I don't feel like I have the power to.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
One person
You're right.
or another.
That's true. I wouldn't recommend you trip if you very attached to your illusions.
Oh, and more than who should not trip and who should trip, I would say when to trip, when not to trip. Don't trip in a time where you're especially low in your life and you feel like you don't have very much inner strength or inner energy. Don't recharge
need
first.
to, yeah.
Don't trip in a place where you're not 100% safe. You know, if you're going out and you're out at a concert or event or a club and you don't feel 100% safe in yourself, I would say don't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like a rave warrior and you've been to so many that you feel like that's your home, and if that's the case and you decide to trip, I would say you're probably going to be fine because that's your safe place. But if it's a new experience for you and you're not feeling 100% comfortable already, the acid's not going to make you feel more comfortable.
No.
It's going to tell you the truth and be like, dude, you're not comfortable
Yeah,
here.
the acid is not a numbing agent. It's a
truth finder.
Yeah, it's
For the most
Veritaserum.
Yeah. What else? Like, if you're around people that you don't 100% trust, don't trip. Do not trip with people you don't trust. Even
don't let people pressure you into tripping either. That's not a good trip.
Yeah, I really safe set and setting, beautiful setting, place where you feel safe, you feel love.
Being able to be in touch with just any kind of organic anything is amazing. Like just being able to touch a tree or look at a blade of grass.
Yeah.
Just nature and sky and earth. It's really good.
Yes, absolutely.
So good.
So
Even
good.
I think that alone can it's healing.
Yeah, nothing beats nature.
Nothing beats the nature.
Beats bears.
Beats bear. Brown bears.
Brown bear beats. Oh.
That's a little Dwight Schrute love for y'alls.
Oh, well, I love talking about these kind of things, and it makes me kind of miss it in a way. It makes me
I
feel
do,
like,
but you know,
man,
like
I want to get back
I
there.
do, but like the thing is, I read somewhere that the effects that it has on your brain are dramatically lessened after the age of 30.
Huh.
And so the actual insights and all of the things that you can get from that particular drug are hugely diminished once you hit over 30. And so I feel like I was very lucky to be able to experience it when my mind was still very, very flexible, very moldable. And I'm not saying that it isn't now, but I do understand that there is a sort of a difference.
Huh? But you wouldn't recommend it for people whose brains are still developing, right?
No. So what, like teenagers?
Yeah, I mean, apparently your brain's still developing up until
like,
you're 25.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, my brain was developing. Don't be like me.
No, don't be like us.
Be like you.
Be like you. And if you're like...
This has been a public service announcement. Be like you.
No, only be like you.
Be only you. Do not be like we. I don't know where I think we've come to a good place to sort of cut it off.
Yeah.
I gotta get up super early tomorrow, guys, like I've said. But super glad to be able to hop on here and have this conversation, and that you guys are here listening. Thanks a lot.
Love ya.
It's safe tripping. Safe.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Be safe. Be you.
Be you.
Bye.
Bye.